God mode the last 3 weeks to even make it in their home country. So certainly every week, every game day, Pro League day counts, and every game counts. Guess what? Game 4 is here. It is time for World's Edge. Onset Gaskin. Will NRG step up? Let us know. Take it away.
Well, let's see if NRG can step up. The same can be said for Optic Gaming, as we do now have that change of maps. We go back to that old faithful, I'm going to call it, World's Edge, a fan favorite, one of my favorites, and certainly, I'm sure, players' favorites as well. But also, with the amount of time you've had on this map now, Dan, it was almost like the intricacies of it become even more elevated, right? The timing on your rotation, knowing who's alongside you, knowing who you can expect to fight, all those things you were highlighting a little bit earlier on. That's why analysts and coaches have become such a vital piece of success for teams at the moment, and you are seeing them have more and more of an influence. The question is, are Optic and NRG going to have that knowledge down? Are they going to be able to hold off some of these teams who are making their moves in towards where they're going to be trying to hold down? Because for them, I feel like this game is a big make or break game for them.
Also, I was smiling that whole time we had a map overview because I was just kind of watching where people were landing, who was doing what, and I saw that Guard and RKN tried to get a beacon through the crypto drone, right? But it was denied by Sentinels who were already on the beacon, shot down the drone and said, no, you're not going to have any beacon information. Screw you, get out of here. And suddenly there was a overhead. I absolutely love it. I love the details we have in Apex Legends. I'm sure that we're going to see Guard go back for that beacon information in a little bit, but we can see already on your screen, Liquid have got that little bit of extra info. The circle goes west, but then it goes a little further southwest afterwards, so the kinds of areas like Lava Fissure and staging are going to be prioritized by a lot of these teams.
I love the fact that, you know, I love talking about the butterfly effect of such small plays and what it means for teams, right? You mentioned how the crypto drone gets taken down, right? That's another, say, 30 seconds until the drone's going to be back in play, or maybe you're going to be able to get towards that beacon. That's 30 seconds off your rotation, where you want to play, decisions being made, a couple of teams overtake you. All of these things all of a sudden start to mount up and completely change from one simple, tiny little bit of action that happens. It's not even a player getting damaged, it's the darn drone that goes down, and all of a sudden the Guard have to reevaluate things, and that can make the difference in these type of lobbies. I mentioned how World's Edge is so well known and so well versed now that those kind of things can completely change a game plan, and for Team Liquid, the game plan looks pretty solid. It's quick rotation. They're not worried about the armors, they're not worried about leveling up too much. They're already inside of Lava Fissure here, and I think that's a really good thing to highlight, because you have the option when you're landing over at trials to do those trials, to get those extra armors, extra shield cells, extra bit of loot from completing that challenge, and instead Liquid have said, we can leave that there for now. We're just going to go for positioning.
And a lot of teams thinking the same thing as well. Liquid, NRG, Guard, CLG, SSG, all the Gs, they're over here. They're making sure they try and win some Gs in this tournament as they get a little bit further, because they have moved so quickly over to Lava Fissure. There is so many teams that are saying, all right, we know where this pool's going to be. We've seen this 100 times before. Let's get in one of the better positions. We do see sometimes it finishes kind of over towards the train tracks you see and kind of under those train tracks, or it sometimes finishes on this hillside that you see on the southeast side of your screen right now. There is going to be so many teams trying to vie for these positions, right? Trying to fight for these positions, but you've just got to try and find space at this point. You try to get into a building and then you all ignore each other for about 10 minutes whilst everyone else rotates in.
Well, Luminosity, another team who's been quiet in the lobby so far. Mexican representatives are looking to make their way towards Harvester at the moment, as they're going to have quite the treacherous path to travel, landing down at the southern tip of World's Edge here. They do get the little bit of extra loot on their way, which is always a nice thing to find as you do make your way across World's Edge. Unfortunately, it's a turbocharger, and nobody looks like they're running any energy weapons to make that of use. But for now, you can see a little bit of fire coming in from a team that's also over in Harvester. That's going to be Oxygen, who are on the other side of things. But as we see our map overhead, it's going to give you a little bit more of an indication where those teams are stacking up, where we can expect that end game to go. You're quite right. It looks like Lava Fissure is a very popular place to find yourself calling home for now. NRG have made a very fast rotation in as well, Dan. Team Liquid, SSG, and NRG, as well as Dark Zero, all on top of each other right now.
I reckon we should head here.
And they probably are going to be fine being happy neighbors as well. Like, you know, if you saw this kind of circle in a matchmaking game, for example, you'd have one team who are a bit of a loose cannon who decide they want to push someone, and it creates a spiraling effect where everyone gets involved in a fight, everyone ends up dead, and then some team rolls along from the outside of the circle and finishes the game, right? Doesn't happen in pro lobbies. People have far too much respect for those other teams that are going to be residing near them, and they will most likely poke a little bit, but for the majority, just ignore them until the late stages of the game when other teams start to disrupt things, because the more likely is what we're going to see is teams that have to make those risky Valkyrie plays and come in late, they disrupt things because they just have to dive on a building, and suddenly that building is already occupied, a fight emerges, and then everyone starts to try and get involved, and it does just end up being such carnage at the end of the game. I blooming love watching it, and I'm sure it is going to be an exciting ending to this one.
Yeah, it certainly is going to be an interesting one for sure, as we see Madness, Pow Pow, and Shubi up on the high ground here, just to the western side of World's Edge. MPL are going to be up on that high ground, trying to hold this team out that is rotating through that choke. A little bit early damage did get done. Unfortunately, with the one times on the R301, it's not going to be quite the sight that you want in the situation to do that long range damage. The 3 times is going to be much more of a viable option here for Madness to be the player to do that longer range damage, but for now MPL just gatekeeping, just holding things down and trying to use everything they can. But here come G2, they do not care. Chaotic is flying in, he's throwing all of his resources down the black hole. He's going to have the thermite going in as well, and G2 don't get the initial damage, but Madness now goes down as Designful will get the first pick.
I mean, look at this composition. G2 are everything about aggression right now, but Chaotic going down means Designful and Resulta are going to have to work together like they've done so many times before to ensure that Chaotic gets back up. But with gold bag to work with, it means that Chaotic will come back with a little bit of health, a little bit of shields, and he'll be fine and dandy. G2 will be fine and dandy as well for now as they retake the high ground.
Well, G2's safe, as you say, but look at the kill feed. Did you notice for a second what is going down? Rack Attack versus Optic, and Rack Attack are going to get the first pick onto Noct. So I mentioned how Optic have been slow today, how they have been struggling. Well, it looks like at the moment that those struggles are continuing. 2 players still left alive, of course, as we've lost 2 teams in the lobby. But for Duplex and Skittlecakes, they're probably thinking, what is going on today? We are really struggling to find our footing.
I mean, I've seen enough arena tournaments to know that Duplex and Skittlecakes can win any 2v3 against any team, but certainly when there's more than just 2 teams involved and you've got other teams that could potentially third party, things get a little bit more difficult. They'll be wanting to try and recover Noct's banner here. They might think it's potentially recoverable, but it does look like Rack Attack are going to be sitting on that banner. Unless we see some incredible shots here and maybe a knock early on, I think Optic are probably going to have to let this banner go.
Yeah, I think Skittlecakes just wants revenge, to be honest with you. The bubble's going to go down. The bubble should disappear in just a few seconds, and unfortunately the timing not going to be on the side of Skittlecakes here, as unfortunately the bubble just lasted long enough for them to scarper away and survive. Duplex is going to be using that, what looked like, excuse me, the last medkit that he has in the inventory, so they've got to be careful with their inventory management here. Skittlecakes has decided he's got to go to zone. 3 syringes to play with here for Duplex. Medkit being popped now by Skittlecakes, but the zone's certainly causing problems, as are Rack Attack, who, luckily for them, have the crafter next to them, so at least they can survive a little bit longer with some extra meds.
And they decide to take it to the skies. Skyward dive and see where they can find themselves. Can they get ahead of Optic Gaming? I don't think they'll be too concerned about Optic now they've made them a 2. Instead, they'll be thinking about positioning themselves and trying to work towards the end game, just with Optic in the back of their mind, knowing that revenge could be in the forefront of Optic, because we know what Optic are like, right? They like to get involved in fights. They like to try and win those engagements, and maybe they're a little bit peed off with what's just happened.
Well, for now, Rack Attack survive. They hold off the re-peak from Optic Gaming over a few moments ago. But for now, you can see, just look on the map overhead, they look like they got a pretty clear move towards zone. They've got Oxygen and LG, who are kind of inside of staging at the moment, so they might be able to move in. If those teams do engage, they could be the third party, but they've got to be careful also of a move coming in from one of those teams to try and gatekeep them, excuse me. They could also move north, potentially through this vault passage towards landslide. That's where 100 Thieves find themselves right now, and that looks like with that ping is going to be the play call. So a safer rotation coming in now from Rack Attack.
Yeah, and they can get through this area comfortably, right? The tunnel is not currently occupied. They won't know that, but I can see the map overhead. I'm cheating a little bit. Landslide is, however, occupied. 100 Thieves are going to be there waiting at the other side of the circle, of the tunnel, excuse me. So Rack Attack will be fine for now, but it's about whether they notice 100 Thieves and whether 100 Thieves notice them, which will really change how this rotation is affected. But for now, they'll use this craft of this drop down, take as much resources as they can, because they know this is going to be a big old scrap, because they have a long way to go with where this circle is pulling over towards Lava Fissure, as all the residents of the Lava Fissure Hotel are still residing in a way where they are comfortably, you know, just popping a few shots from window to window, but maybe it's just a little bit of harmless grief at the moment. No one's gone down, no one's having a bad day, everyone just won together.
It's very poetic from you, Dan Gaskin. I enjoyed that. Let's see if the same poetry can be said for Team Liquid now. They're inside of this building. They're set up. They're going to be pretty comfortable. Let's see what the move is, though. See if they're planning their next rotation, where they want to try and play with a listening now with Team Liquid.
We should scout this area.
There's a clueless bogey out there.
Problem? 15 flash or low ground.
Okay. Wait, they're on low ground. They're on ultimate. Rest in peace, boys. Balk on the west ramp right here.
They're hitting B.
That's actually a ballsy.
He queued the door that's not there.
I'm gonna take the fence off this. I'm gonna leave these doors inside like this. Leave the doors like this so I can speak.
I got it. I got my armor.
Just leave them like that? Yeah, leave them open like that, please. Because then I'm gonna place a gen. I'm gonna place a gen like right in the middle of this room, so it blocks this fence. Wait, people? Landed on us, north side, underneath.
Yeah, I think he died out of the air.
They're underneath on thing.
No, careful, careful.
Oh,
Do not go out there.
Well, back into the game, Team Liquid, you can see, taking down a couple of teams surrounding them. And speaking of teams going down, NRG down again. Top 13 for NRG. Not good enough once more from a lineup who's been playing extremely well away from the ALGS. But what seems like the ALGS at the moment is a little bit cursed here for NRG.
Yeah, it's like looking at one side of things to the other with Liquid and NRG. Liquid absolutely vibing. You can hear it in their comms. They're having fun. They're making jokes, and they are in prime position at the moment to potentially take another game. As for NRG, it is very much them continuing on the struggle bus. And unfortunately, they're going to have to look towards game number 5 before they can really have any success here in this match week. And it's starting to get a little bit miserable for them and looking less likely they can make a real impact in this match week. And that is a shame for a team at the standard of NRG. As for CLG, they're in a pretty good spot as well, actually. When you look at where this circle is going, they should be able to clean up quite a lot of teams that are rotating in from the south side of the map.
They should be able to indeed. There's a couple of teams who are going to be approaching them now. G2, one of them. LG, another. So CLG are going to have some work to do. And knowing that G2 is one of those teams makes the work a little bit more terrifying than maybe it would if it wasn't G2, so to speak. However, there is already a fight breaking out. You can see it's actually Rack Attack who are fighting G2 in the distance. And now you can see that G2 are doing a pretty good job of holding the line at the moment. Impulse is trying to get away. He won't be able to as more teams start to get involved. And don't forget about Optic, because Skill Cakes is still here and still having an influence on this lobby.
And maybe just gets that little bit of revenge onto Impulses. It is going to be the knock and the finish. And we're going to have to see whether the rest of the squad can pick things up. But Skill Cakes will be more than happy to at least add a little bit of that to his repertoire. But G2, a team that has been very dangerous in a lot of these lobbies with their ability to win fights, to take fights, are looking to maybe try and push up onto this circle in the next minute or so. Because otherwise, if they rotate too late, this is when it gets to like panic situation, right? Where you make risky decisions because you are forced to make something quick. But instead, they're going to try and maybe clean up the pieces. This could be the last Gibraltar actually from Rack Attack.
Kind of feel sorry for this Gibby at the moment. Nades the backside of the bubble, trying to make sure that He can survive, and I tell you what, a little third party arriving at just the right time for that poor lonely Gibraltar, because it forces G2 inside of this truck. Unfortunately, it will also force Rakanishi to turn into a death box, as he will be finished off by said third party from the north, and that's going to be 100 Thieves, who are that team as well. Optic also in the vicinity, overlooking this fight and this going down, so you've got some big powerhouse names as LG try and pick up the pieces. Going to be the black hole that goes in, but again, destroyed immediately, not having the effect it wanted to.
Oh, the shreds coming out from Luminosity. They are sitting ducks inside that RV van, by the way. Resulta's going to be the first to go down. Luminosity also need to be careful of that third party you spoke of. Optic Gaming are in the horizon. They're getting involved. Duplex gets the knock and will potentially get the finish. Yes, he does. So now Luminosity on the back foot against an Optic Gaming who, remember, only have 2 players here.
They only have 2 players, but 2 Optic players is sometimes like 3 others. It's just a ridiculous thing to see. G2 now eliminated, but Duplex will fall as Jaguars gets some decent damage onto one of those players. G2 have fallen, but Optic still have 1. Skittlecakes left on his own, and it looks like Luminosity also might be able to get the res here. The CQ is not going to hit. The ultimate is not going to be a factor either. And Jaguars is just holding the line for his team here. LG coming out on top.
Have Skittlecakes been able to get Duplex back up? That's my biggest question. They are alone in that RV van, and they may as well try and get him up so they can have a better chance coming into that final circle. Luminosity are out of there, so Optic definitely will have that opportunity. You talk about poetry in Apex Legends, Mark. I mean, Optic getting the final kills onto Rack Attack after losing their first player to Rack Attack. It was written in the stars.
Oh, no, but unfortunately for Luminosity, 1 player is going to fall from the skies. Manages to hold on for dear life, but this is going to be a rocky-looking landing for them. They're going to have to be forced down to that low ground. They're going to have to be forced down into the heat of the lava. But Nizel survives as that lone rat. He's got a Phoenix kick to pop as well. And even though LG, it was a little bit of a scary redeploy for them, they do survive for now. One team I do want to focus on a little bit down on this low ground is going to be CLG, but also FaZe involved in this top 11. 100 Thieves lose 1 player, and that's going to be 2 FaZe. The Missile Swarm gets the knock onto Scurry, and FaZe are right at the tip top of where this circle is going to be pulling. They're in one of the last surviving buildings for this endgame.
As a reminder, it's top 10 when that 1 placement point gets increased to 2, and then it carries on increasing the further you get. Top 8, top 6, and then, of course, top 5 onwards. But there's a couple of rats. You already spoke about Nizel and LG. He's going to be alongside Jaguars, I think, so maybe there are a couple of players left, but Skittlecakes is still alive as a rat for Optic Gaming. He didn't get Duplex back up, but will still be in this next circle. So Optic still have a chance to get into that top 10 if Skittle can successfully rat up. But all of those teams who darted towards Lava Fissure in the early stages of this game, Mark, are still residing in the best spots right now. There was a little bit of contest that happened when the teams who were arriving via Valkyrie got involved, and they pretty much got wiped out for the most part by everyone just combining together from the buildings.
100 Thieves have been eliminated, so they are out of the lobby. We're down to 10 now. Like you mentioned, this is where the placement points start to get a little bit more rewarding for the teams who make it this far. Every single step that you take is going to be rewarded at this point. First attempt, they're going to have to try and move in, but they know CLG are below them. Enemigo is going to have his shield shredded as he exchanges a little bit of damage, but on reflection, probably took a little bit more than he would have wanted to in that situation. Liquid have to make a move as well. And who is bang center zone at the moment? It's going to be the Guard, who have been here before, but can they convert this position into a win this time?
Yeah, every step they take, every move they make, they'll be watching you, will the Guard. They'll be there. They're in one of the prime positions, as you said, and I think it's one of these squads who are going to be able to move successfully into that little ring donut building in the middle that are going to be in the best spot. I'm trying to see who's there. Yeah, it is Guard. They're being contested by SSG, though, so they have to be careful to kind of force them away or at least force them below them. But CLG in a spot of bother. FaZe are also getting involved. Everyone dropping now. Sentinels have just lost 3 as Sentinels go down in 10th.
Luminosity eliminated as well. Bots go down to just 7 now. Skittlecakes still alive, still doing damage and taking down CLG players as well. Optic finally fall, but not without causing a ruckus in this lobby. But look at first attempt, just shining down shots onto that low ground. A couple to the back of the teammates is always a little bit frustrating, but they are getting the job done at least. SSG still alive. They were the team who had the best position. Now the Guard are getting involved as well, and Team Liquid have lost 2.
Yeah, Liquid now looking unlikely and making it 3 in a row as there's only 1 player remaining on that squad. Nocturnal going to try and do what he can to keep the dream alive of repeat victories. CLG eventually go down as they were in a really hot, bothersome is what I meant to say, spot. and eventually will be just eliminated by everyone that was around them. But with 5 squads remaining, things calm down a little bit now as everyone seems to have found an area where they can play. But of course, as that final circle closes, they're going to be forced closer to one another. You've got high ground to work with in this final circle. You've also got plenty of buildings as well. It's the teams down low that might suffer here because they are really going to struggle to get out of the vision of those who do have high ground above them.
Well, Nocturnal is still alive here for Liquid. They've won 2 games in a row. Maybe he could be the man as the IGL who becomes Superman in this situation and manages to pick up a great performance in this last game. But unfortunately for him, this is going to be the end of the road. Surely he does a lot of damage. He does a huge amount of damage. He's giving him what on earth are you doing, Nocturnal? That's illegal.
I mean, he goes out with very much a bang there. And he does some incredible hip firing that I have not seen in quite some time in my lifetime of playing Apex Legends, but alas, they always surprise me, these pros. Anyway, 4 squads remaining. Bronzy goes down. It's Guard again doing the damage from right at the center of this circle. FaZe are alive. Top 4. Is this the moment where FaZe can pop off and give themselves a real chance in this match week?
Taking the high ground, big damage coming in from Albrelelli as well with that Arc Star, and the Mastiff could be the game changer. First attempt deleted, as now we see them just try and hold down this high ground. The Guard's still alive, so are SSG once again involved in this final circle, but you have to fill with the armors, with the weaponry and the high ground. FaZe have got everything they need to succeed here. Big damage coming in. Frex will go down for here from SSG.
Yeah, SSG have no right in winning this game, but it's Guard and FaZe who are going to be the 2 teams competing really for it. Do Guard now feel like they are in a bad position? Do they try and pick up? Space Station go out, but now FaZe will rain down from above.
FaZe are just decimating here, and FaZe will close out the first game here on World's Edge with a huge victory, returning to what we expect from these 3 players, and that is nothing short of first place results. Albrelelli, Slurp, and Snipe Down get the job done, and I tell you,